Welcome back. Today's masterclass is going to be on what our standards are and really how, well, they're a lot different than most other builders. And really why looking at the standards and understanding what you're getting for the project is really probably the most important thing about choosing a builder.
Correct. And no matter what the size of the project is, some of the things we're talking about today, uh, you know, we'll talk about attic insulation, things like that,
Right.
foundation insulation, which your project may not need or incorporate that space. So um, that may not pertain to your project, but all the other things that were our standards will, and you'll see how the value of that's included in our project.
And I think that's probably the biggest thing, Craig. The problem is people look at two estimates, three estimates, four estimates, and they glance through it and they say, well, this is this price, this is this price, and this is this price. Everybody likes to sort of pick the person in the middle. And it's like, okay, but what exactly is included
Yeah.
and what is included in that price?
What are you getting?
And that's really the key. We're going to go over just 14 items that I know are different than what other builders are doing, what other designers and architects are specking, because we spec it on the drawing. So not only do you see it on the drawings, you see it in our estimate, but also we'll talk about these items when you come to us to discuss your project. And we'll explain to you why these things are very important and why we're not going to shortcut on really any of these standards because of the problems that they can cause down the road.
Absolutely. And we'll sit down and explain the different things and why they're important and why we've been building this way for years. And so, we want you to feel comfortable working with us and you can certainly ask us, well, why do you do this and why don't other builders
Right.
use this system, use this material? So we'll work together through this and explain everything.
And a lot of times it's because the architect or designer doesn't know about those products. And a lot of times the builder doesn't know because they've been just building off of drawings that they're getting from the architect. So there's no real collaboration. One of the things that really has helped us, I'll say, establish this list of things, which is changing all the time, is because we do renovations and new construction, we get to see a lot of the products that have been put out 10, 15 years ago because we're going in and doing full house renovations. So we see where products are failing and or techniques of how to put things in are failing.
Absolutely. And we're doing the research and looking at the new technology and making sure that it works. And if it's uh, been tried and it's test positive and it works and makes the project better,
Exactly.
then we're going to
We're
work to
going to
include
keep
that.
using it,
Exactly.
or we
And
know to
that
eliminate it, or
becomes
yeah, exactly.
our standard.
Really, the first thing that people say, well, that's not really a standard, but it is. It's that selecting a true design build firm is probably one of the most important things out of all the things you do when choosing a builder. We know all the issues. We started out as design bid build, and we worked with many architects throughout the area. We saw the challenges of coming up with a good project and really the process of supplying the plans, building the project, and then having the homeowner take over at the end to, I guess, really get their feedback about how they felt the overall process was. And we rarely got back that, oh, this was a great experience, even though a lot of times, most of the time, the projects turned out really nice. Mm-hmm. But it was the whole process of getting there from the designer to the builder to the end of the project that people didn't want.
The journey. Sometimes that can sour the project.
And often it does, which is really the problem. One of the things I wasn't going to touch on, but just because I did a quick Google right before we started this, and I typed in something like who are the best design build builders in the area. It came up with 5 design build builders, and none of them on that list were design build. So I asked AI one more question at the bottom, which was, I want a design build builder that actually has it all under one roof. And of course, AI says that's a great question. And then there we were at the top.
There you go.
There was Winthorpe at the top. And it went on to explain why Winthorpe wasn't there initially. And I thought it was interesting, the explanation, which we won't go through on this one. We may touch on that on another video. But AI, you have to be careful. It's certainly good for certain things. It's not so good for others. And I always like to say AI is great when you know most of the information yourself and you're just trying to like sort of fine tune it. If you're really trying to get the information for the first time, I think you can be led astray very quickly because you're believing what AI is telling you, and AI is just getting it off the internet.
Always ask that second question to fine tune the responses so that it makes for a better search overall.
Yeah. So design build, basically, it's an in-house designer. We do all the building in-house, and then we're able to make changes on the fly if needed, where you're not having to go back. The builder comes to you, I've got a problem. All right, well, let me go back to the architect.
Okay.
2 weeks, we wait, get the design back, and then there. With design bid build, that's really the process. With design build, it's taken care of usually within hours.
Yeah, and we've talked about this in other classes, but it truly is streamlining the project. It makes for there's the cost efficiencies for you, the timeline. It's really beneficial when you're being able to see those changes in almost real time, because we're able to come back to the office and draw up potential change or what you think that you want to add or take away from the project. We can show that,
Right.
And you can make the decision right away.
I think the 4 big things are really better communication. With you're not having to go to 3 different people. You're going to one
Pointing of
person.
fingers is eliminated.
The problem solving, it's immediate. We're standing out there, we're discussing whatever the issue may be. A lot of times we're bringing up some issues that we understood from the beginning of the project, that maybe the window layout or the placement of the fireplace, it's just not exactly right. So we're bringing them to your attention so that we can solve that problem immediately. I really think, this is probably one of the bigger issues that people have with the other process is really budget control. And because we start at the very beginning, understanding what your investment level is, where you want to be, because anyone can design a project that's 3 times, greater than what your budget is. That's not hard. Designing the best project and keeping it within the budget, that's really, that's where design build really, I'll say, shows its colors and why it's really the best choice. And then really the continuity of keeping the architect and designer on the same page, the structural engineer, the project manager, and the interior designer. And they're all working together from the very beginning of the project to the end.
Yes, we're taking the time to find out what your vision is for the project. What are your goals, and really working together to see how we can incorporate that into the space. And you're a vital part of the team. It's not you hand it off to us and then, okay, we just create this thing. It's like Scott mentioned, potentially
right.
It's not the right thing. It's over budget. All those types of things can happen, but we're working together through this entire process to make sure that it is in line with your goals, in line with the budget.
And I think really what it means really for our clients is fewer surprises and really just a smoother process. And the process, we know that was really why we changed to design build, because we knew that that process just was not, people just weren't happy at the end of it. And if you're not happy, it's almost like, okay, great, I walk into this kitchen, it's beautiful, everything, but I'm still thinking about, oh, I waited, 2 weeks to find out that the beam that we had to change, either could be done or couldn't be done. I mean, we've seen it all different ways. The architect, designer comes out, and then the structural engineer comes out, and then we get an answer 2 weeks later. And in the meantime, nothing's going on. And they've got, a whole family in the house that can't use their kitchen, and they're waiting. Well, when am I going to get this kitchen back? And it's the process, and it's a much smoother process.
One thing that we don't touch on very often, but through this whole design process, we sort of have an idea of what the project is, and we've kind of penciled you in, or we're thinking about the scheduling too, or the starting. So when you hand off something out to an architect for design, or another company that does the bid and the design separately, you lose that control, but we still have control of that, and we're working through and trying to find out. That's one of our important questions. When did you see this project being completed? Is there a family event, something like that you really want to have this done by? We take all that into account, and so we're kind of placing you sooner than any other company would, so that when the designs are finished, the drawings, the permitting. So we're anticipating, whereas others, I don't have the drawings yet. I can't even think about putting you on the schedule. So that's one.
And that's a great point. It's a great point, and we can adjust as we go. Okay, some snags at the permitting office. Okay, well, you're not just getting pushed all the way to the back. We're trying to figure out, okay, when will the permit come in, and when will it be approved? And the other design bid build, back in the day when we were doing it, the architects were able to pull a lot of the permits, which eliminated one of the things. They've really pushed back on that now, because whoever's building the project needs to pull the permit. So the architect / designer needs to finish the drawings completely, send it out to bid. And the problem is during that bid process, the builders don't know that they're getting that project, because they may be bidding against 3 or 4 other.
Mm-hmm.
So if something comes along and it's ready to go, they're going to sign that, because they can't say, oh, I might get this. And then the problem there is you may have interviewed with them and you're like, oh, I really like them. And then you find out, oh, they dropped out of the bid. Yeah. And now
back to square one.
That bid process, we saw it can extend out 6-8 months, depending on the size of the project. Then once you've awarded that project, now they've got to go and get the permit. And so now you're starting that permit process. With us, a lot of times what we'll do, depending on the project, we'll go ahead and submit what we call permit drawings. And they're not going to show all the details. They're not going to show, the backsplash, all the finishes and things like that. But it's enough for the county to start the process of looking at it. We do it with new homes. We do it with large renovations. We do it with any real renovation that we know could be tricky at the county. We get that in as soon as possible. And we continue to work with you, putting all the details on the drawings.
Yep. And that works well, and it helps, again, streamline the process. And so when permit is approved, you've got a set of working drawings, boom, we're ready to go.
All right. I know one thing, Craig. That was one. We cannot spend that much time on all of them, but design build is probably the most important thing. And if you don't choose Winthorpe, just choose someone that is a true design build company, and you will have a good process, because they know all the ins and outs from beginning to end in order to do it. So we're going to go through these next 13 a little bit quicker, without a lengthy, unless you want to add something in there. But the first one that I have is, we spray foam underneath all of our basement slabs. We've been doing it for really a long time. I'm going to say at least 10, 12 years. We started doing it for really an insulation value reason. Putting down the boards and taping, we won't go into that whole process, but there's a lot of room for different issues to come up. But when we went to the spray foam, the thermal protection was better.
Yep.
The moisture control was much better because you're sealing it up the wall, and so everything is sealed, which gets you into any sort of air movement, air sealing, and really what we realized, really after a few years of doing it, the radon mitigation became not only easier, but it also became less needed because we were actually able to encapsulate the soil, which is where the radon's coming up through in the basement. And it seals nice and tight against the walls.
And that's the closed cell.
Correct.
Spray foam
Yep.
insulation. So it's much more of a tighter seal.
And one of the key things is the trade-off. I know we're saying this is a plus. It's a little harder to do, but the trade-off is it's depending on the size, obviously, but it's usually only several $100s more to do the spray foam. It's just that most people don't do it. And so they're kind of stuck doing the same thing that they've always done. The second part of that, which is number two, is that we do all passive. I mean, we do all active radons. So we're not doing the passive ones that the county requires, which is just a tube from your
underneath the slab area.
Right.
It's taking that gas, radon gases, and
Right. Taking it
up
right
through
up
above the house so that it's not an issue inside.
We see some people run it to the outside. Most of the time it's put down into the
Sump crock.
the sump crock, thank you. And what we'll tend to do, especially on larger ones, is we'll put two of those in. Because if you're running it, it's just as easy to put two of them in the slab before you pour the slab. What that allows you to do with the spray foam is to always come back and test the elevation of what is the radon level. We look at all the maps. I hope other builders do, other architects do. But as we go into a neighborhood, we'll look at the map immediately. We'll see if there is a radon issue. Just because there is doesn't mean that you're going to have one in your house.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables, and I know we've talked a lot about it. We've sat in on many seminars on it, and I don't think anybody really knows because it could be nothing, and then a year later it could be high. And so mitigating it from the start is the key. And by putting the fans up into the attic, so everything's up through the house in a 3-inch or a 4-inch pipe, and then we put a fan in the attic, which is drawing all the gases from underneath your slab up and then exiting them out the attic.
Yep.
Which is key. And then the other thing is we set up immediately a monitoring system once we enclose that area so that we can get a good idea of what it is. Right. And then turn on the fans and see how it's going to work. So really spray foam and then an active radon is definitely most important.
That definitely checks two important boxes.
And the other that we've been doing for a long time, and I will say the energy code that they just came out with has really it's caught up a little bit to us on some of the things that we've been doing for the last 10 years. But encapsulating all the ductwork and things like that, we've been spray foaming in the attic for well over 10 years. And we've been saying those units sitting up in the attic in the freezing cold or the 110, 120 degree temperatures that you get in your attic. How can you expect that unit to work properly, even with insulation? Of course, that's an R9 insulation, I believe it's on the ductwork itself, which is nothing. So we go up the rafters and we encapsulate the whole inside of the attic, which stops all the heat. That area, I know they call it conditioned. It's not really conditioned, but it'll keep it cool. in the summertime, and it'll keep it warm in the wintertime.
Exactly. So the air flowing through the ductwork is not struggling in 120, 130-degree attic space. It's closer to 80, 90. And so just imagine it's going to be so much more efficient. And that's the standard that we do in the attic. Yep.
The number five is the zip system, which we've been doing that for years also, but really helps with the air sealing.
Yeah.
And I think one of the bigger things that a lot of people don't realize, especially with the zip on the roof and then on the walls, you're really stopping that water intrusion as soon as it's sheeted. You don't need the siding to go up. You don't need even the roofing to go up because everything's taped. All the seams are taped. And yes, if the windows aren't in, you're going to get potential for, rain, snow blowing in and things like that. But that's the next thing. But as soon as the sheathing's on, we almost have I'll say a house, a renovation, no matter what it is something that's not getting just weathered on the whole time.
And that's what zipboard is. It's sort of a impregnated sheathing, the exterior skin of the house, if you will. And that becomes, like Scott saying, we're sealing all the seams. You picture two boards butting up together that have been manufactured, and they're not really as straight edges, or they don't mesh well. That's why this tape covers those seams that blocks air
and water.
water penetration. And so that allows for a drier house and a tighter house.
You don't have to worry about the subflooring as much getting rained on,
Sure,
even
yeah.
though, yes, we use a Vantech and you can say all those things great about it, but the less water that gets on it, the longer it's going to last and the less problems that you're going to have down the road.
Yeah.
Speaking of water, our next thing came about when we were actually doing a renovation. It was a primary bathroom that we were tying into an existing in the house, making it into it, and then adding on an addition. And why don't you tell everyone, what you found when we started the renovation and how it led us to KBRS?
Well, shower pans, bathroom areas, over time, it's been different things from.
Yeah, the lead pans they would rust out and leak in the corners.
And mortar, and that would take time and things like that. And over time, that would also leak. So the KBRS system is truly sort of a uniform, custom-made pan that's waterproof that gives you a lot of different options and flexibility on your shower layouts. But it's a waterproof system that is going to last and is the base for the tile, but it gives us the flexibility of doing a zero threshold shower or a curb shower. They make shower benches, niches. The whole system works to keep your home or your bathroom, let's say, waterproof.
Exactly. And the key thing is we've been using this system for a long time and we haven't had any issues with it at all. And the nice thing is some of the other systems that are out there, you're sort of designing the bathroom to fit the pan that they have. The great thing about it is KBRS, they have many standard pans, but they also have custom pans. So we give them the measurement, we give them where the drain is, and then they pour the pan and then ship it to us.
We've done showers that are about 5 feet by 12 feet long, double shower. And then we've done showers that are as small as 30 inches by 4 feet. So again, the flexibility is great with that. And I really love that if, again, we're doing a zero threshold shower pan, we can recess that waterproof pan down to the same level of the floor sheathing outside the shower. And then the tile just is seamless out of the shower into the bathroom floor.
And one of the great things is we've been certified through KBRS to install their products, but I mean, I think we got certified probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Mhm.
And we really have, and they've improved their products, and
They've
so
been growing.
yeah, it's really great, and the amount of things that you can purchase from them, like you said, it's KBRS. Just make sure your builder's putting it in. The HVAC, this we've been doing also for quite some time. We do a lot of different calculations through the design process. We're figuring out exactly, what is the duct design that's needed for the
Yeah.
house. The counties now are requiring these designs also. The one thing that we've realized is that just because the county requires it and it goes on the design, no one really comes out to make sure that you actually do what's on that design. And that's really a sort of a flaw that hopefully we'll get caught up on. But the design of the ductwork is probably the most important aspect of having that house to cool and heat efficiently. And really, you could have the most beautiful project, but if you're sitting in there with a coat on in the wintertime and it's uncomfortable, really doesn't matter.
You want a balanced system, one that's not running too often on short cycles.
Right.
So you hear some, oh, I'll just put an oversized air conditioning
Yep.
unit and that'll service the entire building.
Right.
But you have to think smarter and calculate,
You
like you
wanted to
said,
fit
design
it
it
as
so
possible, but
exactly
you wanted to be able to heat
maximize
and cool.
efficiency.
Right.
And it may be splitting the zones, two zones, or even putting some dampering systems in there. How do you live in the space? Are you not going to be upstairs that often? So we take all that into account in the design.
And that's a key point to go back to the very first thing we said. So you're looking at the bids. Uh,
Yeah.
the typically the designer or the architect is not really thinking about that. They're saying, "Oh, I'll hand it over to the HVAC guy that the builder uses, and they'll work all this out." Well, what happens is if you're not thinking about the ductwork layout while you're designing it, then what happens? You walk into the house and you're like, "Why is there a trunk line here? Why is that trunk line, 8 feet wide?" Well, because no one thought about where the HVAC was going because that happened after the design was done.
We'll hand the plans off and that'll get done down the road.
Yep. So the other things that we're incorporating a lot of are the ERVs, which is an energy recovery system, which allows the air to exchange in your house. And it's really important that certainly in our area because of moisture and also because we get very cold and hot temperatures, you want an energy recovery. You don't want a heat recovery system. You want an ERV, not an HRV. And there's a lot of different things, and we can discuss why we really push the ERV, but it does allow that fresh air to come in, and it will, because of the way we do it and how we incorporate it into the HVAC system, it will condition that air before it goes out into your house.
Because houses are being built tighter
Zip,
these days.
spray foam,
Yeah.
all the things we
We're
just
doing.
discussed.
So that brings up the concern for indoor air quality. And
Right.
so we're doing this requirement standard to it's a requirement of ours to make sure that that air is being exchanged and you're breathing healthy air.
Exactly. The next one is floor systems, and this we could probably talk an hour about, so we won't. But the key is you can go off of what the code is, which most designers and architects, and a lot of times they'll just send it off to the manufacturer. And the manufacturer, they want to make the sale. So they'll say, oh, yes, use these eye joists because they'll span properly. You're not worried about a catastrophic failure, but you are worried about when somebody walks into the room and you're at the other end and you can feel the bounce.
Yeah.
You have that large island area that's adding that additional, dead weight in that area. And then what you do is you start feeling everybody that walks around that. And that's what we designed for at the very beginning, because if you start saying, okay, you know what, we'll just put a larger eye joist in when you're out there building, well, that affects all the elevations and everything else,
We even had the client that had the weight room. We
right?
knew that they wanted
Yeah.
this certain area to be a weight room, so we had to take that into account. Okay, well, let's size it this way, but in this space particularly, we want to change that. So then the question becomes, well, we need taller eye
Right.
joists, or wait a minute, how can we raise this floor? Or so there's so many different things that we have to incorporate, and we're working through that in the design phase, and not just saying, okay, there's going to be a step up that doesn't make sense in this one area by 2-3 inches because it needs a beefier floor joist. But we'll work through that and work through ways to make sure that the design makes sense.
And I just heard you say the other day to a client that was here, and you were working through the design, and you said luxury is not always what you see; it's what you feel. And I know you were talking about the floor system, and yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive because yes, it's a larger eye joist. Usually, it has a little larger flange on the top and stuff like that. But those are the types of things that you want to be made aware of, rather than, oh yes, go ahead and put in something that's very expensive that you're going to see and say, okay, well, I've got that. And then you walk around, and when you ever have a party, everybody's just bouncing up and down through your great room or whatever.
But again, we're focusing on areas. You know what? We don't need this oversized floor joist in this area, but we do need it here in this concentrated traffic flow, things like that. So it's not, we're not doing it all the way across the room. It's where we need it and what makes the most sense and the most economical way of building a quality product for you.
Our next item is it's a quick hitter, but I am seeing more builders do it. But we incorporate it in the drawing so that everyone knows that it's going in, and that's uncoupling membrane. And we started this many years ago when we were both out on a project. There was a large primary bathroom. They had a lot of marble throughout. They had a sunken tub and columns and everything else. I'd say 3/4 of the marble was cracked.
Yeah.
Some of it was just small sparks, and some went all the way across the floor. And what we realized quickly is as we started to demo, that there was no uncoupling membrane. And why don't you just explain just real quickly what uncoupling is? And obviously we use it on all the projects.
It gives it a great base. It's looks almost like a egg crate, if you will.
Right.
But it's bonded to the subfloor, and then it allows for some movement, but it's solid still. And then through thin set, you'll set your tile on top of that. And so it's just an extra layer that absorbs that movement, and things move in different directions, different rates. So this sort of levels it all off and eliminates cracks, grout.
It uncouples itself from your base, and that's really what it's doing. That extra layer is just uncoupling it from, typically the subfloor of the plywood, and then it allows the tile to move at this rate, and the subfloor to move at that.
But the best part is it feels solid no matter what.
Yeah.
You don't hear those hollow spots on some tile jobs where it hasn't been done correctly. So it's just smooth, durable, and solid.
Next one, we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here, Craig.
Right.
Cabinets, I'm going to combine a couple of them together. Cabinets, windows, and I'll just say interior doors and trim. And just real quick, just explain what we do with each of those and how we incorporate it in the project and how we're getting a higher grade. And we don't let somebody just skimp on a very cheap, inexpensive vinyl window when they can get something very comparable almost for the same price.
For all these things, they're like Scott's saying, the windows, putting the energy package, low E package in the windows that will help with energy costs and comfort in the home, which is very important in the long run. It's a minor. Um, it's just an upgrade that we do. It just doesn't make sense to not add that or include that in the package. Solid core doors. It just the feel of doors that are hollow core, and you hear them in the production houses, and they're just
And the standard
they're
basis and
quality.
trim, we can run custom trim. We have the ability to really look at your project. And also we're always looking at the investment level. So we're not gonna, recommend something where unless we can say, well, maybe we cut something else out over here so that you have the option. You're
True.
you're really you're deciding the direction of the project and really the scope of work and the ultimate investment level.
And that carries on to the kitchen too. Cabinetry. We
Right.
will always do a plywood side box, which makes for a stronger, more durable box versus a particle board. Uh, and then the drawer systems, soft close hinges, uh, soft close glides in your drawers. It just makes for a quality project.
The hidden plugs. I always love those on the
Yeah.
island so that you can still have the plug there, but they're inside a closed door. So it's an option that they're allowing you to go back to now, which is I think great. Uh, the one thing that is probably just as important as design build is having a project manager on the project from the beginning of the project to the end. So it's the same project manager, but he's there every day, the whole day. He's not swinging by, he's not running 4 projects, he's running 1 project, and that's your project. So he knows the ins and outs of everything on that project.
I think that's one of the bigger things that sets us apart is that the manager's there. He knows what's going on. He's your point of communication. And I always say, I'm back at the office. If there's things that we all need to discuss, I'm available. So
Right.
it's so important to have somebody in your home that you feel comfortable with working with and can say, hey, what if we change this? And we want you to feel comfortable working with them. And our clients are, and they say he's like part of the family by the end of the project.
Yep.
But he's there. And if you ever have a question, what better person to go to than the person that's right there? And then they can work through it with you. If needed, I could draw things up to add to so that you're sure about what the possible change is or answering your question.
The best thing I think is, and it goes back to design build, accountability. And so there's no, oh, the architect, the designer didn't put this on the drawing. No, we're drawing, we're engineering, we are taking care of everything from beginning to end. So if there is an issue, you bring it up to Dave or Jerry or Jeff, and they say, oh, you know what? This is something we missed. It's not, oh, that was the engineer's fault or that was the architect's fault. We are all of that in one with design build.
And think about it, the worst case would be, oh, that was 3 days ago when you see the project manager the next time. Yeah, I had a problem 3 days ago, and that's been covered up, and the cabinets have been set over it or something like that. So we've heard those stories, and it's just our system eliminates those and addresses those concerns. And as I like to say, our project managers thinking through the project. That's one of the keys. Imagine somebody, a plumber or something, not thinking without the project manager's oversight, saying, I'm going to shut the water off Friday afternoon. And the project manager, our guys are like, no, we're going to work smart. We're not turning the water off and then leaving for 2 days.
Exactly.
And there's another horror stories that we've heard, and turning off the electric. No, we're going to say, you know what? We're going to work on this today, and then Monday we'll communicate with you and set it up with you that, hey, the water's gonna be shut down for a while. And those types of things, it just eliminates all those horror stories.
And there are a lot of builders that just have the subs go out and the subs are running the job.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and not that our subs we've been working with, well, the longest one I think is like 22 years, our HVAC guy. But anyway, we've worked with our subs a long time, but everyone still needs oversight. And that really becomes the, the the project manager, he's in on meetings when we're designing the project. So he knows that project from the beginning.
Yep.
You're meeting with him. So before he even steps out on the job, it's not like, oh, here's Dave or Jeff or Jerry. You've already met whoever it is that's going to be running your project. We've already been discussing the project. So those are really sort of the key things. And we've done one, but we're going to do a couple more with our project managers, these master classes. And this next issue, BuilderTrend, is one of the things that we're going to discuss. And we're going to discuss how we've really changed Winthorpe to be much more client oriented rather than just project oriented. And BuilderTrend has really helped us through that. It's helped us with communication, selections, really sharing the information that's going on also for our subs because they know what's going on.
And BuilderTrend is a software application that you get an invite and that it helps you organize the project on your end, see and hear what's going on, and helps with the selection process, budgeting, and allowance selections and pricing so that you're aware of where you are throughout the project as far as allowances and things like that. So it's a great communication tool. And we
we work with a lot of people that are out of state. We're able to share videos. We do live videos. We work with a lot of people that not just are out of state, but also that travel a lot. They'll be in other countries. Also, it's for people that are just, maybe just a half an hour away and they've got a busy, family things going on, kids doing sports and, plays and things like that. And they don't have the time to run by the project all the time. We can still keep them up to date through BuilderTrend.
It helps so much, even in the early design phase of the project. You're out, you took a picture of something that you love, or see a fixture, or down the street, a roof line, or anything that you want to see incorporated into your design. You snap that picture, you send it to us. We have that in on file then.
Upload it right in there. We have our mood boards and we can start incorporating that. And, so we're finally to our last point, Craig. And this one, I don't know that we really tell people enough that we do this. And I think we should probably start making it very clear, really before they choose us. But we are able to incorporate the whole project. So we can do everything outside. So we can, in the last project that we just finished up, and we did everything on that project. That was a cool project. We had a 3-hole golf course that was out there with a sunken trampoline. We had a
playground area,
playground,
detached garage, the pool house,
the fire pit, really a movie viewing area that was able to be seen in the daylight, and a sound system that was, throughout the yard without being really intrusive, and then also throughout the house. And
if you're not planning that all together from day one, then things are going to be missed, or they'll be left out. But we're able to incorporate all that, bring it into the site plan, bring it into the major overall plan, and make sure that we're accounting for that plumbing wise, electric wise. There's so many different factors and moving parts. So we need to pull all that together for you, and that's what we do.
Exactly. And the thing is like you just said from the beginning, and it popped into my head, one of the things that we did immediately was this was sort of a larger lot, and we wanted the grass to be pretty much perfect throughout the area. So we needed to incorporate
Sprinkler.
a sprinkler system. So right at the beginning, we said, okay, well, rather than doing two bio ponds, let's do a tank that we can pump that water out of. We'll capture the water, the rooftop disconnects, bring them down into the tank, and then that became the second source for that sprinkler system.
Absolutely.
And then we eliminated the bio pond, which actually saved quite a bit of money, even though it was a 25,000 gallon tank that we put in the ground. It allowed us to eliminate that bio pond, which was running right around 40 grand for that one bio pond. So, but that's something you need to know from the beginning, and you don't just say, "Oh, we'll go to this other landscape architect and get them to, take care of it," and then there's all this back and
Or
forth.
find out halfway through that, oh, we needed to do that. That
Right.
doesn't happen.
Right, or somebody cuts through something or something like that. So really, I think the takeaway today is choose design build. Don't go with the old process, design bid build. Pick somebody that has a project manager that's on site all the time, and know what you're getting. Know that I am getting zip, I am getting spray foam, how are they mitigating the radon, how are they
Insulating, what upgraded features am I getting in my home?
right. Don't
Just
just
builds quality into the project, and you feel comfortable knowing that, hey, I know what I'm getting in this project.
and don't just look at the two numbers and say, well, I got a set of plans from the architect. So they got to be bidding this. And sure they are, but what are on those plans? And you can't put everything on the plans. You cannot put every single thing that's on the plan. So you need to pick a builder that's going to be building and go around and look at the work that they've done. Talk to their past, customers. Find out, was that process really as great as what they're telling you on their website or in their videos?
Did they cut corners?
Which
What? Yeah. What did they do? They just wanted to save money. They got their contract. They had their price, and they just wanted to get it done as fast and as cheap as possible.
exactly. So if you're thinking about a new build or a custom renovation, give us a shout. Fill out our contact form. Craig's more than happy to sit down and we can start talking through, what are the challenges of your existing home or what do you want in your new home?
It just starts with a quick phone call and finding out about what you're looking for and see how we can help you.
Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks. Have a great day.